Welcome to the new and improved Outlaw Sports Network. No longer are we Concord Outlaws Wrestling or the Concord Outlaws Podcast. It's not the Outlaw Sports Network. This is the Clemson football preview for 2017, and I do want to thank my guests for being on here today. The phenomenal show off.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Yep. So, today going to be a very special day as this is the first podcast under the new banner of Outlaw Sports Network. And like we said, now we're on talking about all sorts of things. If you look at the bio on the Facebook page and the Twitter, we're now going to be just about doing all kinds of sports. Doing football, hockey, baseball, soccer, if that's applicable, basketball, Winter Olympics, college sports, all sorts of stuff. And, of course, pro wrestling. So definitely look on the Facebook page for that. Also, guys, we've got a logo contest going on. As of this recording, it's 3:30 in the afternoon on July the 20th. You guys still have 2 days left to get the first round completed and vote for your favorite logo to get on to the next and final round of the top four. Voting closes on the round one at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 22nd. And then July 23rd, we will announce the top four there, which you guys can like, comment, or share, or retweet the photo that you feel should be the new logo for the Outlaw Sports Network. The winner will be announced July 26th. So, second round, final round, voting starts at July 23rd and July 25th at 11:59. So, guys, get out there and vote for your favorite logo. Give us a new identity of what you guys think should be the new logo for the Outlaw Sports Network. We appreciate you and your feedback. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about previewing the 2017 season for the defending national champions of the college football world, the Clemson Tigers. Both the show-off and I, the phenomenal K-Dog, we both said, you know what, to kick this thing off, we got to talk about our favorite college football team. Got to be a little biased here. We got to talk about Clemson, coming off that magical season last year of 12-1 and being the national champions of the football world. First national title since 1981 and in the Danny Ford era. And Dabo Swinney has just done an amazing, amazing job with this program ever since he took over back in 2008 into 2009. I know for you, Show Off, you're used to championships with your Patriots and your Red Sox and whoever else, the Celtics, Bruins. But, man, I tell you, being a Redskins fan and a Capitals fan and a Braves fan, it's not been a very good past few 20 so years to be a fan of these teams. Playoffs are great, but you can't win championships. So when that that forever final second that ticked off, and we were champions, of course you were there. It was a moment I'll never forget, and a moment that I'm sure many Clemson fans will never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, whereas like for you, like you said, your situation being a Redskins fan and a Capitals fan and a Braves and all the Braves have probably been the most recent, I think, championship you guys have had.
Yep.
Where I know, at least for you in your lifetime, you really haven't experienced many championships. So that feeling of saying, "Oh, my team's on top." Was a new experience. So like you said, for me, seeing what, like 5, 6 Patriots Super Bowls, having us lose 2 of them, win the other ones, seeing the Celtics win the NBA championship in 2008, the Bruins in 2011, and then going back in 2013 and then when we lost to Chicago for the Stanley Cup, and then the Red Sox getting their first championships since the early 1900s, in the 2000s here. And so for me, I think it wasn't the big experience of, oh, my team is on top. I think for me the big thing about Clemson winning is finally we proved the doubters wrong. I think my biggest problem was people doubted Clemson, people doubted the ACC for being a weak conference. Everyone on ESPN or Fox Sports or CBS, they always gave praise to Alabama as the elite college football program, or Ohio State. Or there was always that one team that would always get more credit for what they did than what Clemson did. So I think winning this championship, I think to me, was just finally we proved the doubters wrong. They can shut up. And so.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. I mean, we could be the first South Carolina team to win a BCS bowl game, which we did in 2014 with the Orange Bowl over Ohio State, and we shut them out in the Fiesta Bowl this past year. But we never shut the critics up from but Florida State was able to do that when they beat Oregon in 2013, 2012 for the college the national title. But it wasn't Clemson. Clemson always had that little cloud over the heads of, they're good, but they can't win the big one. And what better way to shut your critics up than go out there and win a national championship with the team that we had last year with just unbelievably amazing talent, with obviously the man at the helm, Deshaun Watson, and Mike Williams, Wayne Gallman, all those guys that just helped profound this team, this organization basically, to national prominence. And it was just a great moment. That what better way to shut the critics up than defeating Alabama, and in which Nick Saban undefeated in national championship games, and Clemson gives him that first L, at least for him, in national title game appearances. And I think we beat the last 3-4 national champions in one season. You beat Auburn, you beat Florida State, you beat Ohio State, you beat Alabama. That's 4 of them. It's just an amazing season, and like I said, 12-1 national champions can be a better title. And what couldn't be a better title is for my wallet, who lost a lot of money for buying all that national championship gear, but it's worth it. However, time moves on, the days pass, and a new chapter begins for the Clemson football program. As now we go into this 2017 season without Deshaun Watson, without Mike Williams, without Tankersley, without Wayne Gallman, Jordan Leggett, all those guys, Ben Boulware. Now we're in the new phase of Clemson football where guys like Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, Big Mitch Hyatt, all these guys now are going to be stepping up to the plate, and including the new quarterbacks, possibly Kelly Bryant or Hunter Johnson. And we'll get into that here in a little bit while to kind of preview and review the depth chart and to kind of go down the list of that. Before we do that, though, we got to go through this draft. We got to go through this draft of the NFL this past year, 2017 NFL draft, in which 6 Clemson players were selected in this draft. 4 of them were undrafted free agents, and then there's one that was undrafted and is still a free agent out there. We got to go down this list. First, Mike Williams being the first Clemson player in the 2017 NFL draft, being chose by the Chargers, the LA Chargers, the new LA Chargers, in the first round, 7th overall. I seriously thought Deshaun Watson would be within the top 5, at least talent-wise he should have been. But, he should have been Heisman Trophy winner too. But, hey. What can I do? But I think looking back now, it's just the teams that were in need for positions just weren't there. And that's why I believe that's why Deshaun fell to 12th and the second Tiger chosen in the first round and the 12th overall for the Texans, which they traded up for that pick. I think they traded up from 15, 16, something like that.
I think the Texans were actually like 25th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's see how much I remember. But I think that's why, they saw that Deshaun was there, and it definitely felt a need for them for a franchise quarterback, whereas that Brock Osweiler situation was horrible, and they needed to get out of that, and they did. Now they've got their franchise quarterback to take the helm in the future for the Texans. And in my opinion, like I said, I think the reason why Deshaun fell a little farther back, and looking back on it now, is just because those teams really didn't need a quarterback at the time, or had already kept choosing quarterbacks in previous drafts, and they wanted to go a different direction. And so from my perspective, I think that's why it made sense for Deshaun to go 12.
Yeah, I would agree. I think going into the draft, I had two ideas of what might have happened. First, I thought maybe Watson would get taken in the top 3 as a quarterback. If it wasn't him, it would be Trubisky. It happened to be Trubisky in what I would call the most stupidest NFL trade I've ever seen in my life. To trade up one spot and trade so much to get Trubisky, which to me, he has talent, but he's played 13 games. We don't really know what he has actually in him, whether he'd be a bust or not. And so when Trubisky was picked 2 overall, I said it's going to be a long night for Deshaun. Someone's either going to have to trade up or he's going to have to wait to get to a team that needs a quarterback. Because, I mean, there's only so many teams that I would say need a quarterback who or are actively looking. And going into the draft, I knew the Giants needed one, the Chiefs, the Texans. The Browns always need a quarterback. But, you know... when you get stuck with Osweiler's contract, I mean, you can't really do anything about that.
Nope.
But, and so, I think the biggest surprise, and this has to surround against Deshaun, I think the biggest surprise is at 10 overall, Kansas City trades up, and at 10, I saw Kansas City. I was like, here goes Deshaun and Andy Reid, but no, Patrick Mahomes gets taken. I was like, okay, so Deshaun's going to be the 3rd quarterback taken, and he happens to go at 12 overall. And I think it speaks for the depth of NFL quarterbacks. And basically every team has the guy they want for the future, either on contract or franchise tendered. So,
yep, I mean, that's true. And, but I was just glad to see that finally Deshaun got drafted, and he's going to a team that I know will treat him well. And we'll treat him right with Texas, with Houston. So, definitely excited to see that for him. And we get to see him in a couple of weeks at Bank of America Stadium, where the Texans play the Panthers. We live here in Charlotte. The Panthers take on the Texans in the first preseason game for either team, I believe.
It's the first preseason game of the season for any team. It is number 1.
Look at that.
The first game of football. We will be live.
And we will be at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte for cheering on our boy Deshaun in hopes of him performing well. I mean, I'm not a Texans fan. I'm a Redskins fan, and I know you're a Patriots fan, and it's not about cheering for the team so much. It's just cheering for Deshaun. And, I've been cheering for Ben Boulware, too. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder, and I'm anxious to see what he can do on the NFL level, too, even if he's with the Panthers. So that'd be cool.
Absolutely, I think. Like you said, it's more about Deshaun, but being a Patriots fan, I kind of cheer for Houston as well because O'Brien used to be our offensive coordinator. He runs his team similar to the way Belichick runs his. And then, of course, you got Big Vince Wilfork, though he's...
Big Vinny.
I think he's 3rd on the depth chart now because DJ Reader and the other dude from Clemson who just got drafted by him are number 1 and 2 on their depth chart at defensive tackle. So
that's true. Yep, him and Watkins.
Yeah, Carlos. There it is.
Which we'll get to in just a second there. And, and of course people are going to, if they listen to this, will, say, well, that's biased. Yeah, I can already tell that. No, if I had to choose an AFC team, it would have been the Texans just because they're so young as a franchise and so underrated that, yeah, they make it to the playoffs, but it's usually because the Colts are suffering and the AFC South is just not a very good division. But I've always just had a soft spot for the Texans just because of that, because of the underdog issue. And like I said, with this now, with Deshaun being at the helm, I think this is just a very legitimate team now, a legitimate franchise who should be taken seriously and I think can really contend for possibly a Super Bowl within the next 5 years. Given that they stay healthy, given that the franchise and the organization keeps making good decisions, you never know.
Absolutely.
Going down here, though, after Deshaun, no Clemson Tiger got chosen in the 2nd round. You have to go to the 3rd round where Cordrea Tankersley gets picked up by the Dolphins in the 3rd round at 97 overall. Him and Mackenzie Alexander just solidified those 2 spots perfectly the past 3-4 seasons. Barely any quarterback threw to their side of the field. I think that's where it shows in the pretty high draft. I think in the top 3 rounds is pretty good. If you stay within that top 100, I think you're really good, in my opinion, because there's so many college players out there. If you stay within the top 100, I think you're pretty good. And with Cordrea being chosen at 97 overall to the Dolphins in the 3rd round, showcases his talent. He's a little undersized, I think, but his speed and his athleticism and his feel for playing that position back there in the secondary is phenomenal. So, good to see him go there in the third round. And then we got a couple Tigers in the fourth round, going with Wayne Gallman, the Wayne train running back, going to the Giants in the fourth round at 140 overall. This is one of those decisions where I'm like, are you serious? Because as a Redskins fan, I got to face the Giants twice a year. So if I have to see Wayne Gallman, those are the only 2 games that I hope he doesn't do anything for.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Tankers Leagues,
That's right, AFC East foes. Yeah, you and
them Dolphins out there.
Them Dolphins. And then we kind of briefly mentioned Carlos Watkins in the fourth round, 142 overall, just 2 picks behind Gallman, going to the Texans, and the Texans get Deshaun and Carlos Watkins. I'm sure that they hooked up pretty quickly after they got drafted, with being teammates and obviously hanging out with each other and being comfortable. So I'm sure that they brought that Clemson vibe to Houston because they needed it. They needed that. They needed to break up the one-on-one with Clowney and Hopkins, and now there's 3 Tigers on that team, I believe, to 1 Gamecock. I don't have the Texans depth chart pulled up, but just going off the top of my head. So it's pretty cool to see. And then the final Clemson Tiger that got drafted in the 5th round, 150 overall, Jordan Leggett, going to, yet again, one of your AFC foes, the Jets.
Yeah. The funny thing about it is, I don't think I put it on Twitter, but I was going to. The Patriots are always looking for a second tight end. Of course, we got Gronk, and unless something terribly happens to him, he'll always be our starter. But we like to run a 2 tight end system. So I was like, hey, go out and get Leggett. If not, the Jets are going to steal him. And 4 rounds in, I was like, okay, come on, Patriots. 5th round, let's go. We can get him. No, went to work, came home, and saw that the Jets took him. I was like, see, I told you. Bill, you should have listened to me. The Jets always do this with guys that I like. But,
Yeah, but that'll be very interesting to see both Cordrea and Jordan Leggett twice a year. So
yeah, and I actually think the Jets might move Leggett out to wide receiver.
Guy's definitely built for it.
Yeah, I think he has that wide receiver build, but I think he's good because he can block. I think that's what made him. To me, he was a 3rd round pick, just because he's multi-talented. But that's probably why I'm not a NFL GM. But
So and then after that was the only 6 Tigers that got drafted in the draft. And then you had 4 of them that did go undrafted, were free agents, and have signed with an NFL team. Ben Boulware, Big Benny Ben, not traveling too far from Clemson, going to Charlotte and signing with the Panthers. Got a nice chip on his shoulder, and he plays well with that chip on the shoulder, so I expect him to do very well in the training camp and preseason for them. Jadar Johnson, undrafted free agent, going to the Giants. Not so much of a shock. I didn't expect him to get drafted, but I thought that he was pretty good for what he had at his position.
He was a safety, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. And considering how safeties aren't really drafted high, I knew once the 4th round got done, Jadar probably wouldn't get drafted. I didn't expect him to get drafted, so it's not a shock he didn't. I think the only shock out of our undrafted to me was Ben Boulware, because every site I had him between 3rd and 5th round getting drafted. So
yeah, I projected at least 8 Clemson Tigers to be drafted, and only 6 did. Boulware was one of them on this list that I thought should have been drafted. And then there's another one, and I'll get down to it in just a second. Nick Schuessler, undrafted free agent, did sign with the Steelers. He did fill in pretty decently for Deshaun when he was hurt a couple times. And he worked pretty well for what he had. I think that he'll be a decent backup with the Steelers, and I know he's 3rd string behind Big Ben and Landry Jones. But just get a couple, just like Nick Sudfeld for the Redskins. Just get reps, just get experience, and then when that opportunity knocks, just definitely try to break it through. So we'll see if Schuessler has any
And
good stats there for the Steelers or any potential team.
I think that makes it the third Clemson quarterback who doesn't get drafted or gets drafted really low that ends up on the Steelers. Because I know Boyd, after he got drafted, he got cut. He went to the Steelers. The dude who played behind what's his name? Stout went
Cole
to
Stout. Yep.
Stout went to the Steelers, got cut, and now we got Schuessler. So Pittsburgh likes some Clemson quarterbacks apparently.
I guess so. The white ones at least, right? Oh, no, that Boyd was black. I can't say that. But they love to cut him too, so hopefully maybe Schuessler will find a nice home there in Pittsburgh. This is the one that to me shocked me the most that he did not get drafted. This is the last Tiger that was undrafted that did get signed unrestricted. I keep saying unrestricted. Undrafted free agent that signed with the LA Chargers, Artavis Scott. This is the leading receiver in Clemson history. In front of Sammy, in front of DeAndre Hopkins. Why he didn't get drafted, I don't know. He's a little short, but man, he's got open field speed. He's elusive, and he's just a good all-around, great, reliable receiver. And that proves it, obviously, with being the most receptions for any receiver in Clemson history. That to me was a really big shock. Him and Boulware that didn't get drafted, I thought at least would have been in the 5th or 7th rounds, between 5 and 7, and neither one of them got drafted, so that was a surprise.
Yeah, Artavis, I had a love-hate relationship with him. He would drop passes that I thought he should have caught, and I was like, nope, I want nothing to do with them. And then he would catch the big clutch ones, and I was like, fine, I like you again. But, I don't know. I feel maybe it was his size that moved him down. He wasn't built as sort of a wide receiver, so. But he was like what 5'11", so.
Yeah, he was not the tallest guy in the world.
But I think that's the sort of way wide receivers are going. If you look more of a trend of being a shorter, faster receiver, I think that's the way the NFL is turning out. So I'm kind of surprised he didn't get drafted. Because every team needs wide receivers. So I think if we look back on this draft, him not being drafted might be one of the biggest surprises that turn out wrong.
I like to, and this is not me being too much of a bias, but I'll put it to you this way. The Redskins have Jamison Crowder on their team, and he is one of their go-to receivers definitely a receiver in the slot, but he's definitely that small dude that can catch and can run. And he's 5'9", and we drafted him in the 4th round in the 2015 draft. So to me, there's just no excuse for why teams didn't draft him, because Artavis may not be as fast as Crowder, maybe some of these other guys that are smaller, but he's still pretty quick and he's just elusive. And when he does get the ball, he does really good things with it. So hopefully he does show the Chargers something. And especially with the news that Williams might be out for a while with that back surgery. Maybe that's a really golden opportunity there for Artavis to get on the roster potentially and just be a 2nd or 3rd string wide receiver. So.
Yeah, and I think with Williams going down, Artavis being over there, Phillip Rivers is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. So Phillip's going to do good things with them. With or without any, I mean, if they can keep Phillip protected and healthy, I think without Williams, LA has a chance to. Even without Williams, LA has a chance to shock that division. Because I mean, who they got? Oakland's the only real challenge. So. Yeah,
in the AFC West, you've got LA, Oakland, Kansas City's over there.
Yeah.
And.
Denver.
The Broncos?
Yeah,
the Broncos. And I don't see the Denver really doing much this year. Kansas City has a chance to always be good. And Oakland is going to be probably the winner of that division, in my opinion. But I think LA is definitely underrated, and they had a pretty good draft for themselves. So That'd be an interesting division to watch out for this year, is the AFC West.
Absolutely.
And then the last Clemson Tiger that was in the NFL draft was Jay Guillermo, the center for Clemson. Currently is a free agent. He was undrafted. Hoping that he'll be able to get a shot. He did say back a couple months ago, that he was looking at the Titans and the Bills for an opportunity to work out for them and potentially get signed with them. Hasn't happened just yet, but I do feel like Jay is a very smart guy. He's really good at what he does. But here's to hoping that he definitely does get that opportunity here pretty soon.
Absolutely. I think center-wise, again, it's a position thing. Offensive linemen, unless they're standout top talents, they don't get drafted high. And so I think as we go into training camps, I think he'll get a deal. Injuries happen as the season moves on. Offensive linemen get hurt all the time. So I think he'll get a deal, and you can never have too many offensive linemen. I know, for one, the Patriots need a center. I think he could fit we have the best offensive line coach, in my opinion. But, so, yeah, the Patriots need a center. So, Belichick sign Guillermo.
Yeah. And is that your little public service announcement to the Patriots? Did you get another center?
Huh?
Was that your public service announcement to get the Patriots to get Jay Guillermo?
Absolutely. He has the talent. I think I would actually like to see, if anyone could get him other than the Patriots, to have the Texans on him. I think there's a relationship that him and Deshaun have. As a quarterback, you have to be close to your center because it's all about timing. So I think that would probably be his best fit, would be snapping the ball to Deshaun again. So
that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. So now I'm going to transition a little bit from the review of 2016 and the draft class that Clemson did produce this past year to the preview for 2017. But first, before we do that, once again, guys, I do want to let you guys know that the Concord Outlaws Wrestling podcasting and the Concord Outlaws Wrestling is no more. We're changing a new identity, new brand, new face, new name. Outlaw Sports Network to have a logo contest that is going on, guys. First round does end July 22nd at 11:59, in which the top 4 picks will be chosen in advance to the second and final round, which voting will begin July 23rd and go all the way through July 25th at 11:59, when it will be announced July 26th to present the new logo for the new face, the new identity, and the new brand that is Outlaw Sports Network, covering all sorts of sports. So going on now for the 2017 preview for the Clemson Tigers. Kind of want to make a little, not really a little game, but just a little fun thing to do is just to go on down the list for the schedule and just pick, choose who's winning, who's losing, and kind of go about that. I feel like that'd be a really cool thing to do, and a really cool option there to see what we think will happen with the Clemson program as we move into the potentially two-headed quarterback system with Hunter Johnson and Kelly Bryant. But before we get into all that fun stuff with the depth charts, let's start out with Week 1. Saturday, September 2nd, a day game, a home opener, celebrating the national champion season we had in 2016 against Kent State. Do we really have to say who's going to win in this one?
Obviously Dolph Ziggler's going to come out and score the winning touchdown, but no, I'm kidding.
I don't know. If they book him, he might fumble at the 1-yard line.
At least he'd sell it good.
It's true. He'd sell it better than the Friday Night Lights movie.
No, but obviously, I think it's easy the Tigers win this.
Absolutely. Got a bold prediction for the game?
Bold prediction. I really see games like this. As well as I like having them to sort of get our team started up in the season, and it gives programs like Kent State money and airtime to sort of get recognized. I just don't. There's nothing really bold. I mean, I guess the only bold prediction is. I'll say we put. I'm just gonna go ahead and say we put a 70 spot on them.
Wow. So 70 to what?
I'll be gracious to them and say they'll score 14.
My prediction's a little bit less than yours, maybe a little bit more realistic. I don't know, maybe 70 is realistic. I don't know. I'm going 42-10 Tigers all the way.
42-10.
Next week, September 9th, that is another Saturday at 7 p.m. start, the first game under the lights in Death Valley for 2017. Got a tough one. Auburn War Eagle coming in to Death Valley for the first time since 2011.
Here's a bold prediction: Tigers win.
Really? That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know if I can argue with that one.
So this game begins a 3-game stretch. I think it's 3 games in a row between between them, Louisville, and I think the next one's Virginia Tech, if I remember the schedule right.
BC is
BC's the next one. Okay,
yep.
So this one, and then Louisville, and then Virginia Tech. Those are the 3 games I think will be our closest games before the bye week. I think we pull it out. I think it'll be close. This one's in Clemson this year, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so yeah, I just think our home crowd, our home stadiums, it affects it too much. The same way if you go to Kansas City to watch the Chiefs. The Chiefs really don't lose at home that much because of their fans. I think the same goes for Clemson. I think it'll be close. I'll go 24-17, but I think the Clemson Tigers pull it out.
I do have Clemson winning this one as well. A very tight-knit game. I think it'll go back and forth almost all game long. That crowd is definitely going to be motivated, and being off the hinges of a national championship, I don't see why we can't be loud, especially being the first game under the lights. Do go with Clemson on this one, and I do believe that, like I said, close game. I'm going to pull an 8-point spread on this one. It's going to be 31-23, Clemson in favor. So the week after that, week number 3, Saturday, September the 16th, on the road at Papa John's Stadium in Louisville against the Cardinals. Lamar Jackson and company as the Tigers roll in. Both of us have them at 2-0 going against Louisville, who I'm sure is going to be ranked in the top 5 in the preseason polls, and especially in the first 2 weeks. I'm sure that they're going to have a 2-0 record as well, pulling into Papa John's Stadium for a 3:30 kickoff against the Tigers. This one's going to be tough, no matter what. I don't think Clemson's going to cakewalk this one at all. Louisville showed that they are very resilient last year. They lost to us in Death Valley, but we were up on them, had pretty much dominated the first half, and then Lamar Jackson and company figured out a way to get through our defense and I think scored 24, 25, 26 unanswered points in the third and fourth quarter. Pulled ahead. We ultimately came out on top last year by the skin of our teeth. This one's going to be a tough one for sure, though.
I'll agree. I think for both teams, the outcome of this game will be determined by quarterback play. If Jackson can play the way he did in the second half last year, I think Louisville wins. Just because he's the more experienced quarterback, but I also say if we run a 2 quarterback system and we can get Louisville's defense off balanced, I think that'll help. But so I think it depends on the quarterback play. And with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and give Louisville the win here. Barely. I don't think they destroy us, as some people are saying they will. But I say they win 24-21.
24-21. I do have Louisville winning that one as well. I've got them winning 37-30. 7-point spread over there in Louisville. That's going to be a good game, though. I'm looking forward to week 3. Got a very tough matchup. It's either Florida State. And that used to be the guys that scared me for the most part was Florida State. But now we've got Louisville. So we got a nice early matchup with them as well. Week 4, we're back at home in the comfort of Death Valley. Friendly confines of Death Valley against Boston College. Definitely got that stubborn defense as usual over there at BC, no matter what. But it's that offense that's just hasn't quite turned the corner and turned the page yet for that franchise and that college up there, up in the great state of Massachusetts. But I do believe that their defense will be tough again. But I do think the Tigers do pull out this one for sure.
While I give Clemson the win, I will always have a special spot for Boston College, seeing how I like the city of Boston. I like their sports teams. Boston College to me, my first Clemson game in Death Valley was against Boston College, and I was there and talking to some of the fans, and they were like, "Oh, Boston College always reminds me of Notre Dame Light. All the people who aren't good enough to make Notre Dame go to Boston College. It's basically the same system." And so I see it that way. I don't think defensively, like you said, that's where Boston College is and what they're known for, especially their defensive line. If they can get an offensive game against us, though, which I don't think they will because our defense, I think, is too good. But if they do happen to pull to get momentum, I think we might. This is the team I always have it written down as they could shock the heck out of us. But I do give Clemson the win, and I give them a 34-17 victory.
I have a 38-13 victory for the Tigers over BC. What was your prediction again? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
34-17.
34-17. All right. Going next to a matchup that quite a few people are predicting could be a prelude to the ACC Championship game in December. The Tigers do go on the road into Lane Stadium up in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech. The Hokies coming off of a ACC Coastal Division win. Or is it Atlantic? I keep getting mixed up.
I think they're Coastal. I don't really pay attention to that because, it's Clemson and nothing else.
It's just terrible to me. I just forget it. But yes, do have the possible an ACC championship game prelude, like I said, with Virginia Tech and Clemson going head-to-head in week number 5. It's a Saturday, September 30th. I do expect that game to be a night game.
Absolutely.
But, hey, you never know. What your thoughts definitely on this one? It's a Coastal Division that Virginia Tech has. I thought so. So we're there to Coastal.
My thoughts on this game. I think the time of the game, I think will be crucial, but I think it will be determined on the play of Virginia Tech. If Virginia Tech can come in undefeated or with one loss, it'll be a night game for sure. It'll probably be game of the week. We'll probably see ESPN there with game day, because of the importance of that game. I think this is the first time in 4 or 5 seasons we play Virginia Tech in the regular season.
I believe since 2012, 2013.
Yeah, it's been a while, and so guys like Virginia Tech, we play Virginia a lot, but Virginia Tech and Duke and stuff and UNC, Chapel Hill, we really don't see them that much, and so I think that might play into the game. I think we ultimately come out ahead, but I'm not going to count Virginia Tech out. I think this one will be one of those games where we have to put it away early for me to be 100% certain we win it. And I don't think we do that. I do think we win. I think it will come down to the last 5 minutes of the game, though. And I give us a 31-28 victory.
Yeah, last time Clemson and Virginia Tech played in the regular season was in 2012 in Death Valley. Clemson pulled out the win, 38-17. Which is very crazy to me so in 2011 when they faced off in the ACC championship game in Charlotte, Clemson won that, and then the next season they faced each other in the regular season. Clemson wins the ACC championship in 2016 in Orlando. next year we play them in the regular season. Very controversial.
Yep.
But you do have the Tigers pulling out with a W?
Yes, I do. 31-28.
31-28. I also have a 3-point spread. I'm going to go 27-24, Clemson over VT.
All right.
Week number 6, back home in the friendly confines of Death Valley, do take on the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest.
Do we even have to talk about this one?
Well, I mean, we had to, I guess, a little bit with Kent State, so I guess we should give a little bit of courtesy to the Demon Deacons.
I don't know what to say about this game. It's one of those, like, it's hard to predict a score against a team like Wake Forest because you want to be merciful and say, okay, maybe we'll let up on them, but we're Clemson, and I'm just going to say 41-10.
41-10. We're close on that one. We haven't gotten to a score where we both got the same scores, but we do have the same total for the Demon Deacons. I have 10, but we win at 45-10. Yeah. Week 7, on the road. I hate that we go on the road Louisville, home against BC, on the road to VT, home against Wake Forest, at Syracuse. It's a away, home, away, home, away, home. I'm not really a big fan of that, but oh well.
The Carrier Dome.
Go to the Carrier Dome up in Syracuse with no AC. I've been told they don't have an AC up there, but it'll be an October game, so it should be fine. And it's a 7 p.m. kickoff, so it'll be a nighttime, so it should be nice and fine. However, this is a Friday night game, and we all know how horrible the scheduling was last year, how we went from a Thursday night game to a Friday night game to a Saturday game. Luckily, we only have one of these games on the schedule this year. It's one weekday game. It's a Friday night game up in Syracuse in New York in the Carrier Dome. Week number 7, Friday, October the 13th.
Oh, so this is a Friday the 13th game. So
yes, sir.
I think we spook the hell out of Syracuse. We pull up, I'd say 56-17. That's just me being nice to Syracuse.
Wow, that's
I don't even know any of the Syracuse players. I forgot they even played football.
Oh man, dude! If we lose in this game, that's going to be somebody's going to hunt you down and tell you that one.
I'm gonna have to eat. I'm gonna have to eat those words. But
yeah, no kidding. Hey, that's strong confidence, so that's the way to do it. I do think Clemson does walk all over Syracuse again, 41-17. You have 56-17, so we do have the same total for the away or for the opposing team, back-to-back games, but we do have different totals for the boys in orange and purple. Week 8, we do have a bye, and I think that does come at a perfect time because we have a very, very tough stretch, in my opinion, the final 5 games.
So 3 of the 5 are the toughest ones. I mean, we forget the final 2, but...
Yeah. Pretty much, you're right. But coming off the heels of the bye week, we get healthy, we get rested, we get nice and comfy, and then we go right back to work. Week number 9. It's Saturday, October the 28th, 3 days before Halloween, taking on Georgia Tech and Clemson with that triple option offense that I hate so much. This one's not going to be a cakewalk like it was last year, I think.
I think it depends on our quarterback play. I think that's going to be a central theme for the year is, do we have a quarterback? I think our bye week is a lot of time to say, okay, maybe we run a 2-3 quarterback system up to the bye week and then evaluate the program at that time and name a starter based on performance up to the bye week or whatever Dabo chooses to do. But I think it depends on our quarterback play. I think our defense will do what it did last year and stop Georgia Tech. My fear is that we're not going to put up enough points to when they do tire us out. The triple option is one of those systems that, because of how it's played, that defenses do get tired out quickly. So when we do get tired out, we let up some lazy points. I don't know if we have an offense that'll be able to put up the points. I say we do. But but I think it will be a low-scoring game. I'll give us a 20-10 victory.
Pretty low scoring. I think 27-14 Clemson. To me, 27 points is low scoring for this team. But in the old Deshaun Watson days, we put up 26 against these guys last year and won. So 27-14 for me, 20-10 you. Week number 10, we go up to Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh to face the NC State Wolfpack. That's a Saturday, November 4th game. We've not been pretty good in NC State. I do know we won there in 2015.
Barely.
But that was a crazy game. And it seems like every time we play up there, it's just a seesaw back and forth battle. And sometimes we let NC State into the game too much, and they sometimes find a way to beat us. I think there was one time we came into there with a perfect record, and they destroyed that perfect record. And I think one of the other years with Taj Boyd, we had one loss maybe in there, maybe two losses, I don't know. And they gave us a loss too. So this is a team that can punch you in the mouth if you let them. But this is somehow the animalistic way of looking at this is that the Tigers should easily beat up that Wolf. But we'll see.
Yeah, we hope it comes easy. When it comes to NC State, though, they're always unpredictable preseason, and so I'm going to give a score, but I'm not really confident in it. But before I give my score, I read something earlier today. I forgot what reporter or who he worked for. I think he worked for ESPN, but he made a tweet that said if the playoffs started today, NC State would be his number 4. Which to me has strong confidence in a team I don't know a single player on. But NC State always has been one of the teams that ESPN kind of rags us on every time we play them. Oh, are they going to be able to beat them days before the game? That's all they talk about is Clemson. Bring up past years of us coming in hot and then losing to NC State. So I'll be prepared for those highlights that week. But I think we win. Again, I'm not much confident in the score, but I'll say 35-24. We pull out a victory. But again, that could change depending on NC State's performance and how they play. We could have an instance where going into the game, both of us could be undefeated or one loss, and it could be a potential battle for the Atlantic. Though I don't know if that'll happen, but it could happen that way.
I have the same score for you for Clemson, 35, but I do have NC State within one touchdown, 35-28, as compared to 35-24. So, yeah, close game up in Carter Finley, but we do narrowly escape that. And we come back home for the Saturday, November 11th matchup against Florida State. This, to me, is going to be the toughest home game. Toughest road game, in my opinion, is definitely going to be up there against Louisville. But and then Virginia Tech's going to be a tough battle as well as NC State. This one easily by far is going to be the toughest home game we have. Auburn's a very close second. But when you talk about Clemson and Florida State, it's every year. It's going to be a battle no matter what.
Yeah, Florida State's one of those teams where, thanks to Jameis Winston, they've been on the forefront of. They've been able to get recruits. Jimbo's been able to do good. I have all the respect in the world for Jimbo Fisher until the week we actually play him, where he starts running his mouth against Clemson. But I think he coaches good, and that's the thing that I think. More than just the best two teams in the ACC, I think it's the best two coaches in the ACC going up against each other. Jimbo's always had good things to say about us as we go on to represent the ACC the last 2 years in the national championship. And so, again, this is one of those games where I think we win, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lose. Florida State's always been able to do that to us. I think it comes down to the final quarter and probably the final drive. I think whoever has the ball last will win the game. So I'm going to give Clemson a victory. It's going to be real close. I'll say 31-28. with us kicking a last-second field goal to win.
This is the game that I just feel like with DeAndre Francois, got a year under his belt. That is one tough kid, man. He stands in that pocket and he takes a lick every single drive, it seems like. So that kid is something special there at Florida State. And every one of these teams may be a little bit depleted with some of the talent that they lost, but Florida State, that's a team that I really want Clemson to resemble, besides maybe Alabama, is how they recruit, is to load up on offense and defense as much as they can each year. And Florida State definitely does do that. We don't lose much at home. I do expect us to lose this one, though. I do think Florida State will take the W 34-24. I think that their offense is just a little too much, and our offense maybe just a little step behind them. And the defenses, both the defense do shine quite often in this game, but I do give the win to Florida State 34-24. So going on to week 12, November 18th against the Citadel, so that's a W for both of us.
Yeah.
We're not South Carolina. We're not going to be the opponent the next week and lose to an FCS team.
Yeah, no, we hope not. Citadel, they run the triple option as well, so I think while they don't run it as quick as Georgia Tech, and I'm glad we played Georgia Tech, 2 weeks before, so we'll at least have it on the back of our mind how to cover it. Again, the FCS teams are hard to sort of predict a score because, there's always when do we pull the first stringers out and put in second stringers to give freshmen and other people who aren't necessarily going to play in a normal game, give them time to play. And there's always the factor of, are we going to beat them as bad as we beat South Carolina State last year, where they had to come out at halftime and do 10-minute quarters the rest of the game, so we didn't put up 100 points. So
I think it was running clock too, wasn't it? They put running.
Yeah,
clock
it was running clock, 10-minute quarters.
We were there, but I don't remember the whole detail.
I think after about the second drive, when the kicker or the kick return where he threw the ball to the referee. Yeah, I think after that play, I stopped actually paying attention to what happened. And
the only time I really paid attention was when we scored a touchdown and whenever we picked the ball off to the receiver if he messed up again.
And so with the Citadel, seeing as their offense is old-timey and our defense is way too good, I say this is the only game we get a shutout, and I'm going to be confident in it. I'll say 56-0.
I do think we give up a late touchdown.
We seem to do that a lot, but I'm still confident in my 0.
I think this will be a close one, 52-7 Clemson.
It's definitely the closest score of the season.
It has to be. It's going to be a very, very competitive matchup all the way up to the last second of the running clock. Week 13, we close out Saturday, November 25th in Coot Town in Columbia.
Man, we got to start telling these schedulers to stop giving us 3 FCS games a year.
I guess they need the money. They need the money. That's all I can say.
One thing I will say is they may have had their 5 wins in a row against us, but at the current rate of winning for South Carolina and for Clemson, I think we'll be at 15 before they can beat us again. I don't know. This isn't the Spurrier era as much as I hated Spurrier, and how we really didn't have to have a reason to hate him because he always gave us reasons whenever he did press conferences. But I think the person for them this year that will hurt South Carolina the most is their overconfident quarterback, Jake Bentley. I think him running his mouth saying, "Oh, we're going to win the SEC. Oh, we're going to beat Clemson. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do this." I just don't think he's looking into the reality of the situation he's actually playing in. I don't think he has anyone around him. I'm not going to take away the talent he has. I think he is talented, but his team isn't. And so Clemson definitely pulls this one off. I'll say 48-20.
48-20?
Yes.
So, going by my calculations, we've got really good records for both teams, and I mean, why wouldn't we? Got for you 11-1.
Yep.
Finishing up
11-1. I think also with that 11-1, we'll win the Atlantic. Go on. My bold prediction for the ACC is the Coastal will be represented by a team. Traditionally, when you look at it, it's Virginia Tech or Miami. I say it will be the Virginia Cavaliers this year that will play.
Virginia Cavaliers.
I think they'll shock them. Again, that's easy competition for us. So I think we beat them. Another bold prediction, it could be UNC again. I don't see that happening, though. But I'll stick with Virginia. I say we beat them. I think we win the ACC.
Want the score prediction for that Virginia game?
I'll say 45-20.
I don't think we're going to the ACC title game this year. I do think Louisville will definitely take that advantage over. I do think Florida State will go 9-3. They'll lose to Alabama. They'll lose to Louisville, and I think they lose to Florida. I just with Lamar Jackson, I just think that they're going to finally understand that making that last drive count and win and not be short. I think Louisville could go undefeated. They really could go undefeated in the regular season. Really, the only tough games they have, in my opinion, is at Florida State. They're home against Clemson. UNC could always be a shocker. I mean, UNC did upset Florida State last year in Florida State, but Louisville is in UNC this year. I really don't see anybody else that could come into comparison. However, Kentucky did beat Louisville, so if at least they'll go 11-1, they could go 12-0. But I don't think Clemson will go to the ACC championship game this year. I don't think Clemson will go to the ACC championship game this year. But I do think we get a very good New Year's Six bowl in preparation for that. So,
all right.
With that being said, do you have a prediction on what bowl game Clemson will go to? If you think they're going to win the ACC title game, I would imagine you're going to have them in a college football playoff.
I would say yes. I mean, I think the ACC's proven I think every year of the playoffs, we've had an ACC team in it. So I think it's almost a given that the winner of the ACC championship is in the playoffs. And so, though I don't think we'll be a 1 or a 2 seed. I think Bama could get in as the 1, as always. The 2 I will say will be Ohio State. And then I'll say we'll be the 3. And then the 4. The 4 is always hard to predict because they always piss somebody off. I won't. The problem with the Big 12 is they don't have a conference game. So, to me, that just makes it harder to put them in a game. And the Pac-12 just isn't worth anything anymore. And so I think this is the situation where we'll have Alabama, Ohio State as 1 and 2, Clemson at 3, and another team from one of those big 3 divisions get in. And my prediction would be that we'll have let's see. I'll go with Michigan. I think Michigan will play just as good, and they'll be the 4 seed this year.
Do you think it'll be Ohio State as a 3 or as a 2, and we're a 3, so we face Ohio State in a rematch?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then with that, I do think Ohio State beats us. I don't think we go to the championship or the national championship this year. I do think Ohio State beats us. And I'm gonna say Jalen Hurts goes back, and I say Alabama wins it all this year. I think, as much as that pains me to say, because I hate Alabama, I don't think Michigan has what it takes to beat Ohio or beat Alabama, and I don't think Alabama will lose to Ohio State. I don't think they have the power that Ohio State had 3 years ago when they had Ezekiel Elliott and two great quarterbacks and wide receivers and a great defense. So I think we lose to Ohio State if we're giving a score. I think it'll be close. It'll be 31-20.
Okay.
And then the national championship, I would say, would be Ohio State, Alabama, with Alabama winning. I don't have a score for that game yet because I don't know anything about either of the two teams in terms of how well they're playing. As we go on to the season, I'll give a prediction. But
yeah, I'm going to say that in the two playoff games this year are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. You don't have to really give a playoff implication. However, I just happen to be looking on an SEC-based website, and it says that they project that Clemson will be in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State in a rematch, but in the Sugar Bowl it'll be Alabama versus Oklahoma.
I would put Oklahoma in there, but I think what we've seen in years past with the playoffs is that the people who decide, they really look at conferences that have conference championship games as because they put the two divisions against each other, and the Big 12 doesn't have that. And so I think that's what's going to hurt Oklahoma the most.
I think this year they start with having a conference championship game, isn't it?
I know they decided they will. I don't know if it's this year or if it's next year. If it's this year, then I would say Oklahoma, if they can win their conference with the conference championship game, they get that 4 seed. But as of now, I'm going to stick with Michigan. Predictions may change later in the year. So
you have Clemson going to the ACC title game, defeating Virginia, then losing to Ohio State in the potential one of the two playoff games. Bringing their total to 12-2, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12-2. You have Clemson doing that. Like I said, I just don't think Clemson's going to get into the ACC championship game this year. Louisville is, to me, too strong, too powerful. They will probably win the conference, and they will get into one of the top 4 playoff games. I don't have a prediction as to who will be in there. I know Alabama definitely will. And Alabama-Louisville, a national championship game could be pretty nice. Ohio State-Louisville, playoff game could be nice. Oklahoma-Louisville. I do think Clemson does go to the Orange Bowl again this year, and they will face Michigan. And I do see Michigan pulling out that W 41-35, which will bring Clemson to 10-3 on the season, which isn't too bad considering returning the page from Deshaun Watson. But another 10-win season.
I think a lot of people are putting this it's national championship or bust type stranglehold on Clemson. I'm not holding us up to that expectation. I'm not even saying playoff or bust. I think we make it to the playoffs. I think we barely. Again, I think with us losing to Louisville, we have to be Florida State. Of course, you have us losing both of them. If that situation happens, I agree with you. We'll go to the Orange Bowl. And so I think 10 wins signifies to us, I think, the best season we could have. I wouldn't be disappointed. I'm looking forward more to next season. Where this dude's name jumps my mind every time I think about him. The quarterback that we're about to get out of Georgia. I don't even know his name, but he's the number 1 prospect for 2018. So I'm looking forward to him. So with that season going on, this year I think is again it's just going to be a 1 year rebuild, transitional period. So I look forward to seeing what we can do. 10 wins would be 100% fine with me. And would mark 7 straight years we've got 10 or more wins with under Dabo.
Yeah, that's my thing is I'm not looking for the playoffs or bust or the national championship or bust. I'm simply if we get to 10 wins, that to me is the goal. So I do have him going 10-3. You have him going 12-2. That's still not a bad season at all. So definitely will be an interesting season as we do turn the page in Clemson football. Going here on out with the arrival of Kelly Bryant and Hunter Johnson. You got Zarek Cooper in that quarterback race as well, and you've also got Tucker Israel. Hope that he's going to be healthy in the upcoming season and he gets this little illness that's been going around, getting it off his back and just focuses on playing. 2018 though, boy, we got a very high ceiling for 2018 with Trevor Lawrence coming on in here and getting to work and getting to be the starting quarterback for the Clemson Tigers in 2018. But before we get there, got to worry about 2017. Definitely, I think it'd be a good year for the Clemson Tigers, as well as you do think that as well, coming off the heels of a national championship season. Looking forward to the new players, looking forward to some new faces emerging. And any final words?
I think my final word, my final thing is like I said, 10 wins is, like you said, 10 wins is the goal. Anything less than that, I wouldn't be mad. And I wouldn't be shocked if we have other losses where if we beat Louisville but we lose to an NC State or something like that. I have high expectations, but with high expectations comes, I understand reality. This isn't going to be the best year we've ever had in our program. And I'm just looking forward to Kent State, looking forward to what Dabo has in store for us. And ultimately, I think while we're looking at the quarterback battle, I think our biggest position that I think we need to look at is our wide receiver position. We have Deion Kane, we have Ray, but we got some new faces in that position as well that we're going to have to get used to. Names don't jump off the tongue right now, but really looking forward to see what we do with the wide receiver position as well as quarterback.
Trevion Thompson, I think, and Cornell Powell should make a pretty big gain this year and gets more snaps and definitely gets more receptions this year for the wide receiver spot. Hunter Renfrow, my man. Saka Steve Boy making big plays in the national championship game. Always going to be in there. Tavares Chase, he's going to be backing up Hunter Renfrow in that third wide receiver spot, so that'd be pretty cool to see. And on defense, I think we're going to have a really good defense. You got a pretty good group back there still. You got Van Smith still back there, Clelin Ferrell, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, Austin Bryant, Dorian O'Daniel, Kendall Joseph is back there, Ryan Carter, Van Smith. So still got some pretty experienced guys over there. A sophomore, a junior, another sophomore, a junior, a sophomore, a senior, and a junior. So pretty experienced front line on defense. There's no freshman on that line. There's no freshman that seems to be on the starting depth chart as well. But with your backup players, there are a couple of them.
There's one quick question that I have. With the loss of Leggett, who makes up for the tight end sort of imbalance that we have? I feel that's a position we don't really talk about. So who do they have right now?
So on the depth chart, we've got Milan Richard,
okay.
He's a redshirt junior. Backing up him is Kenan Smith, a redshirt junior as well. I don't think unless coming out of the spring and into the latter part of summer here, that they'll have a set tight end and maybe a back and forth system that they establish. But that's going to be a position of interest for sure to see what goes on. I do hope that Tavion Feaster performs a little bit better than he has been showing, especially wearing that number 28 that we all know and love.
Yeah, especially since they unretired it for him. But
but here's hoping that he will perform.
He'll be our starting running back, right?
On the depth chart it says C.J. Fuller, but I thought C.J. transferred, didn't he?
I don't even. We've had so many transfers in the last.
But we have
6 months.
That's the problem. I mean,
didn't Pagano just transfer?
Yeah, Pagano went to Oregon. But no, CJ Fuller is still on the team. So he's listed as a redshirt junior. So he's still got a couple years if he still wants to play. He's listed as first on the depth chart, and then we have Tavion Feaster. So that could be a really lethal 1-2 punch for the running back core. And like I said, maybe Tavion Feaster emerges himself as the number one running back. We'll see.
Yep, but
so do want to thank my guest, Phenomenal Show Off, for joining me today on the first episode back of the rebranded Outlaw Sports Network, covering the preview for Clemson football's program 2017. Do appreciate your time and to coming down here today and giving us your predictions and thoughts.
Not a problem.
All right, so for the Phenomenal Show Off, I am the Phenomenal K-Dog. This has been the Clemson 2017 football preview. Once again, guys, voting. You're going to get annoyed for me saying this, but first round voting ends July 22nd, 11:59. Vote for who you think or what you think should be the next logo and identity for the Outlaw Sports Network. First round ends July 22nd, 11:59. Top 4 advance. July 23rd, voting starts again for the top 4, and the final tallies will be counted up. On the 25th of July is the last day of voting up until 11:59, and on July 26th, the winner will be announced. So, guys, vote. Like them on Facebook or Twitter, Outlaw Sportsnet on Twitter, and on Outlaws Sports Network on Facebook. Is it Outlaw Sportsnet on Twitter, or is it Outlaw Sports Network?
It's Outlaw Sportsnet.
That's what I thought. No S after Outlaws besides the S for sports. So Outlaw Sportsnet on Twitter, Outlaws Sports Network on Facebook. Like the photo you think should be advancing, share the photo you think should be advancing, or simply just comment on the photo you think should be advancing. We'll tally those up, and we'll get the new identity here within the next week, guys. I do appreciate you guys listening into the Clemson football preview. We'll hope to see you, listen to you guys, and hope to see you guys again soon. And this is Phenomenal K-Dog signing off.